Next up, we have Miss Pilar Johnson, co-founder and managing partner of Debut Capital. I have not had the pleasure of meeting her personally yet, but today will be the first day. Girl, we are so proud of you. I'm so excited to meet you, and I'm so excited to hear what you have to tell us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I wish every panel I did had this energy and like a DJ because that's rare. So I could just sit
Vibes
and listen
on
to that.
point.
Amazing. Cool. Yeah, let me know if I should just kick off with my I got a couple of slides that I can go through and tell you a little bit more about myself and Debut Capital if that's helpful. Okay, well, I'm gonna kick off then. All right, hi everybody. So yeah, I'm Pilar, co-founder, managing partner of Debut Capital. We're an early stage VC investing in Black, Latinx, and Indigenous founders. Let's see if these slides work. Okay. Uh-oh. Okay, here we go. It's just going very slow. So a little bit about myself. I'm originally from Houston. I just recently moved back to Houston, but prior to that, I spent the past 10 years in New York. That's actually where I met my co-founder, Babak. He and I worked together prior to Debut, worked together at a company called Prolific Interactive. I was there for about 4.5 years and grew to be head of operations, and he was CEO and co-founder of Prolific. And so we worked pretty closely together on several different projects, one of them being the diversity initiative for Prolific, as well as overseeing an M&A process for when we sold the company in 2019. So I think after experiencing my first M&A process, that kind of opened my eyes to the deal making process, and I really enjoyed it. And then just tying that to my passion for just doing my part to create inclusive spaces. I knew that whatever came after Prolific, I really wanted to use my time and resources and all my energy to do something where I would be able to work with people that look like me and support people that look like me. And so that is how Debut Capital came to be. When I was still at Prolific working on the diversity initiative, I would go to a lot of conferences, Afro in Tech, Black in Tech, and meet with underrepresented founders that always had a really solid vision and strategy for what they wanted to build, but were still struggling to raise capital. And so I always wondered like why, but I really didn't have to wonder too hard why, because then I would do my personal research into the world of VC, and similar to the tech space that I had been working in, it was predominantly white and male. And that really reflects the founders that are receiving, unfortunately, the most capital. So I just felt like there was this huge opportunity being left at the table. And so, yeah, we kicked off Debut January of 2020. Let's see what this next slide is. So we have a couple of advisors and venture partners. Keisha Cash, I don't know, I feel like she's amazing, and she's doing really dope work in the VC space at Impact America Fund. And she has been just a wonderful advisor for Debut in helping make introductions for us, and just really being able to just provide guidance for us and how we can best help our founders. Brenda Freeman is one of our venture partners. So that's pretty much our team. We recently hired our first associate in November of this past year. So her name is Shantae. And so if you reach out to me, you'll also be speaking with Shantae. So when Debut first kicked off, one of the first things I thought was important to create was our core values. So you'll see partnership, good vibes, honesty, and value. is at the core of everything Debut Capital does. And that is what we look for in anybody that we work with, whether it be a potential portfolio company, a potential LP, a vendor. This is really our North Star, and at the center of keeping Debut authentic in our mission. So beyond investing in Black, Latinx, Indigenous founders, what we're also looking for is founders and companies that are focusing on building a product or a service that is for a traditionally overlooked and underserved market. And so the sad but good thing about that is because so many sectors are led by predominantly white founders, there's this such a need in every sector for underrepresented founders to create a product for that underserved market. So we are looking for those companies to invest in. And then a little bit about our evaluation criteria. Debut, myself and Bobak, we are operators first, so we're not coming from that traditional VC background, which I actually think resonates with a lot of the founders that we meet with. We understand what it means to be a founder, and it is a journey. It's a very long roller coaster of a lot of ups and downs. And so I think that our background really resonates with the founders, and so beyond your typical evaluation criteria, what we bring as operators is we're looking for, is the problem authentic to the founder of what they're trying to solve. Basically, we want to make sure that what they're trying to build is something that they personally experience, and they're doing their part to try to create a better solution for that market, meaning they didn't just read a book and say, oh, there's money to be made if I just create this product. Design thinking is another big thing that we get excited for at Debut, meaning we understand in the early stages you might not have it totally built out yet, but what we get excited about is that you are prioritizing design in your roadmap, and just how you're thinking of connecting that with your users. I think that our background as an operator and the work that we did at Prolific, we know that design is always key. Consumers today want to make sure that they're using a product or a service that has a great flow, but also is beautiful. And then I think business strategy is the third bucket that we really look for. I think, we're investing in pre-seed, seed, and Series A stages. So those are pretty early. So you might not understand all these like kind of BS terms that this industry has created. But what you should understand is what are some of your short and long-term goals, and what's that differentiator that you're bringing to the market, and just understanding that business strategy of, okay, if it costs this much to make this, then I know I need to sell it for this amount. The other stuff, kind of comes along as you continue to grow. So this is an example of these are some of our portfolio companies. As you'll see, regardless of sector, these founders are creating a unique experience for, like I said, an overlooked market. I think Ami Collet, I'm just going to pull one of these, but I love all of them. I think our portfolio is truly fire. Ami Collet recently was in the New York Times, and I think it's a good example of like what we're looking for when we're trying to find that company we want to invest in. She was in the beauty space. The founder was in the beauty space. Really firsthand experience a lack of product for melanated skin, and let alone like not even clean product. And so this is how Ami Collet came to be. And so I am just doing a quick plug that if you are looking for a clean beauty product for your skin, I would recommend checking it out. It's pretty dope. And so, when we're thinking about what could be our value add beyond just capital, uh, we focus on three areas: people, product, and brand. My background is in operations, specifically people operations and some finance. And so a lot of times when you're meeting with early stage founders, they're trying to figure out their early, their team, who should be like some of their first hires, what does that org chart look like, how are they going about scaling, recruiting, hiring, what's the best practices in that process. And so I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that before many times prior to debut. And so I'm able to kind of sit with the founders and work with them as they do that planning for their roadmap. And then on the product side, my co-founder is pretty tech savvy, has built over 100 mobile apps during our time at Prolific. Some of those companies are Rent the Runway, in their early stages, Soul Cycle, The Wing, Amex, Saks. And so, in the early stages, it's really important to kind of figure out what tech stack you wanna go with. If you don't take the time to, it's the same thing with people. If you make the wrong hire, if you go with the wrong tech stack, longer term, you can really do yourself a disservice and end up spending more time and money trying to resolve that issue. So Bobak is able to kind of sit and talk through and brainstorm the tech stacks and design and all of that stuff. And this is just a quote. Uh-oh, it's over 15 minutes. Ooh. So this is just a quote from one of our founders saying, "We're great and she's great." And yeah, so we invest in the pre-seed, seed, Series A stages. Our check sizes right now tend to be 25 to 50K with the opportunity to follow on up to 200K. And that's debut. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Girl, we have tons of questions for you, so I'm gonna get you
Okay,
ready.
cool.
So,
Awesome.
question number one, do you
hmm
invest pre-revenue?
Yeah, we have invested pre-rev, pre-product before. I think going back to Ami Collet, that's a good example. When we met with the founding team, it was just an idea, a very thoughtful, beautiful idea. And so um, it really comes down to the roadmap and the founding team, but we have done that before.
Are you Jamaican?
No,
Why you respond like that?
I'm
The way you
not
said
Jamaican.
example, are you Caribbean?
I'm not. I'm half Mexican and half black.
Oh, the way you said example, I was like, interesting. She sounds Caribbean.
Hey, that's a
Well, shout out
compliment.
Dominicano. Next question, girl. What makes a company ready for pre-seed investment from debut?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it really goes back to those three different buckets that I listed earlier. Do they have a clear roadmap? Usually in the pre-seed stage, it's more the idea. So you might not have revenue, and that's okay. But do you have a clear roadmap of how you're going to get to, validating that idea? How are you going to start bringing in users, and then just understanding like your market, what are your competitors doing, and how are you gonna, what's your big differentiator? And then it really just comes down to founding team and kind of getting evaluating that founding team to see, are they working on this full time, are they just roadmap. I guess that's how you answer it.
Yeah, no, I get it, girl. That's great.
hmm
Okay, so how do we contact you for value or for evaluation, and how much do you typically invest?
Yeah, so um, if you go to Debut Capital's website, there is a pretty detailed submission form. So that is a way to submit your company. We review that weekly. We try to review it weekly. We were a little backed up last quarter So we're catching up there, but the goal is to review and follow up with the founder on if it is a fit, getting something scheduled. If not, providing feedback on how they can improve and just any resources that we think might be a good fit for them. And then
Yeah.
the check sizes um, are between 25 to 50K for our first initial investment, with the opportunity to follow on with up to 200K.
I have I'm going to kind of combine those two questions, but also ask something that
Hmm.
I feel like a couple founders may be wondering themselves.
Hmm.
So in previous conversations we talked about, warm intros and the value of
Hmm.
network. Did Debut choose to do a submission form online to kind of democratize that access to capital piece? Because a founder asks, how do you guys prefer that founders contact you? So do you prefer like a vetted warm intro, or do you prefer that your founders submit on the form so that you can just
Hmm.
see all the deal flow coming through the pipeline?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it goes back to when we first started Debut. We were so new to the VC space that all of our it was all outbound. So then as we continued to grow our network and just more people were starting to learn about Debut, to keep it fair, we'll always accept warm intros, and that's a great approach if you have it. But we also created that submission form so that people have the opportunity to still submit if they don't have a warm intro.
Right. No, I love
Mhm.
that. I love that. So let's see. Can you share more about your experience preparing for an M&A? What advice would you give to, or for M&A, what advice would you give to founders that want to have a successful exit?
Whew, that was a journey. That was a long journey, and I would say my one key like feedback that I would tell founders is, even if you're in the early stages, think about documentation now, because when you get to that exit, um whether you're going public or you're being acquired, documentation is key. People, whoever's going to try to acquire you, or if you're going public, they want to see everything. They want to see
Mhm.
job descriptions that you created from years ago. They want to see like what your process was or strategy for anything, like templates. I'm specifically thinking around like just the people side of it, but on finances as well. Like if you had updates, keep track of those. If you have a P&L, keep track of that. If you made changes to it, keep track of that. So documentation, I think, is like key
Yeah.
to when you get to that stage, which is exciting. It's already going to be so stressful that if you right now are thinking about just organization and documentation, it'll be a little smoother of a process, I guarantee
No, I agree with
you.
you 100%. Documentation, organization are like top notch. All your forms, have your folders organized, like
Yes,
put that thing in
yes.
Google Drive or Dropbox.
Yes. Yep, that's
Agree with
it.
you.
Either Google Drive or Notion. These are the two programs like I recommend. And you might think to yourself like, well, I know this, so why should I document it? Just imagine like just any dum dum should be able to be to look at
No,
your
it's so
folder.
true. It's so
Yeah.
true. Girl, on in the
Yeah.
fundraising process, even in getting a loan, like you
Yes.
just have to have all those things
Mhm.
together.
Yep, so just start the habit now. It's hard, it's tedious. You will thank yourself.
Agreed. I second that.
Mhm.
Do you invest in real estate developments?
Uh, that's an interesting question. We have some prop tech companies that we've invested in more on the consumer side, and it's more like tied to tech. Strictly real estate, we're open to meeting with founders that are working on something. I don't think that we've made an investment yet strictly on real estate, but
Mhm.
the only sector that we're saying like no, we're not ready to invest is in life science. So
Okay. No, that's good to know.
mhm.
And that kind of answers one of our questions too. And just for clarity, which sectors did Debut invest into?
Yeah, so we're agnostic, and I think you'll see that when you look at our portfolio. We get excited about a lot of sectors. I think that, Debut reviews our portfolio frequently to make sure that we are remaining diverse. So I know for the next couple of quarters, we're pausing a little bit on CPG and beauty just because I got very excited about that last year, and I think we have some fire companies. So I would say if you're CPG or beauty, like reach back out to us maybe in Q3. But if you're like SaaS or just more tech enabled, we're open to meeting with those sectors now.
Thank you. Does Debut use or invest by way of convertible notes? Or at pre-seed, are you expecting to negotiating equity?
Yeah, we're pretty like easygoing, so we've definitely signed, safes and convertible notes. It's the early stages, so
Right.
we're pretty chill.
No, love this. Straight to the point. That was helpful. Oh, what about this one? So, what do you guys look for in a founder when reaching out in a cold email pitch?
When a founder is reaching out to us,
Yes.
cold. Yeah, so I think having a pitch deck is key. A lot of times, if they don't have a pitch deck yet, then it's like, okay, you need to go back and do that so I can have a better understanding of what you're working on. So I would say that's key, and just a clear vision of what they're trying to build. A description of like who their current founding team is. Location, I don't think is as critical anymore because we're all living in a remote, weird world. So I don't think that's as big of a priority. But and then going back to the buckets that I mentioned earlier, just like design aesthetic is exciting for us regardless of sector. Making sure that what they're building is something like they've personally experienced. It's authentic to them as a founder, and then just understanding, like their business economics and strategy. Usually when I'm looking at a submission, I would like to get a clear understanding of you understanding your market and what you're bringing to it that is different and gonna make a big change.
Right. So I'm gonna combine three questions into one, just for our
Okay.
last question. It's really
Sure.
three separate ones, kind of, but we'll see. So a couple founders are asking about the relationship dynamic between Debut and their founders.
Hmm.
Up from the minute that they pitch, how long would that process take in terms of diligence, in terms of closing the round? And then post close, what does that relationship look like with you guys? Just like, on a social front, on a financial front,
Yeah.
what does it look like?
Okay. Part one to that question. um, we try to move pretty quickly, but we are a small team, so sometimes it takes about 2.5 to 3 weeks of a full, like, from you submitted your company, we've had our first meeting, you've sent us your data room, and for us to kind of review, do our research on the market, build out our investment memo, and come up with what our, summarize what we want our next steps to be. So that's part one of that question. And then the other part is post investment. I think is like my favorite part, because then the whole goal of Debut, which I think is a little different from other, like, more traditional VCs, is that we're people first, and
Mhm.
so we want to take that time to genuinely build a relationship with the founder, and so without micromanaging. So we're kind of, as a investor, looking for an opportunity to jump in and help when the founder needs it. So I see that more like in the pre-seed and seed stage. Usually by Series A, they've got it, and now it's just, here's the capital, we're your cheerleader,
Right.
good for you. But in the pre-seed, it's usually, like I mentioned before, like meeting with founders. We try to schedule one-on-one monthly or quarterly one-on-ones with each of our portfolio companies to just kind of check in, more for them to use the time how they want to use it, not for us to be like, tell us what you're doing, or, like, um, and just be able to see like, oh, okay, you're hiring this role. Let me look in my network and see if there's anybody I think would be a good fit. Oh, you're getting ready to raise, send us a list of investors that you haven't met with that you'd like
Mhm.
to meet with, and we'll see like who we can make an intro to. And it's trying to just provide value beyond the capital. I think it's so needed in the early stages, because a lot of times, especially underrepresented founders, there's no friends or family
Mm.
round. It really is, it's a journey. And so I think debut, at least my goal with debut existing, is to make that journey just a little easier for these early stage founders. And I feel like we have a founder reference video of just founders kind of sharing their experience with debut. And it's my favorite thing about all of this, is just building relationships with founders, champion them. It's needed.
I agree. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your energy, for your insight, for your authenticity. Like that does not go overlooked. We really, really
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. Thank you so much. Next up, we
Thank
are
you
going
so
to.
much.
Oh, no,
Okay,
thank
sorry.
you. Oh, I think you're talking to the audience, not me. I'm just like taking the
Okay, well, thank
mic.
all of y'all. I was thanking you, but thank you, audience,
Oh,
as
thanks
well.
so much. Thank you. Next up, guys, we have Alexa Binns at Halogen Ventures. Shout out to Silicon Valley Bank for sponsoring this amazing event so far. Put a heart eye emoji in the chat if you are having a great time. Pilar, thank you so much for this insight. It's great. We are going to take a quick break. So don't, if you have to run to the bathroom, go like super fast. But we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back.